Alright, now, part 2 of this video was going to be about my plan for Bound for Glory and how, if TNA wanted to, they could start mapping out Bound for Glory right now. But I feel compelled to talk about this at the top of the video and how I think that if they went along with the plan that I suggested, they've already fucked it up. By what they did at the tapings. First of all, let's talk about Impact this week. So the show ends with the biggest surprise of the year, and it's a rip-off, a WWE rip-off video hyping the return of Sting. First of all, Sting's been with the company since 2005, and he's been off and on that entire time. You can't really hype his return as the biggest surprise of the year, because we expect Sting to come back. I mean, he's been around so long, it's like, yeah, he's going to come back eventually. We don't know when, but he's going to be showing his face on TNA sooner or later. And, right, so it's really not that big of a surprise. And second, why are we ripping off the WWE? When you do things like that, you're just opening yourselves up for ridicule and for fan disappointment, I think. And if the WWE was offering deals to Sting, I'm just amazed that... What, are we having a bidding war over Sting? Dude's 50 years old, and his career's... He's done everything that he's ever going to do. He's gone as far as he's ever going to go. You know, there's not a whole lot left for him to do. I love Sting, but dude, it's over. And I've said it in a previous video, I think the only thing that he has left to offer is the novelty of working for the WWE. And even that I wouldn't really want to see, because it just wouldn't be that good. He's not physically able to do it. And a match with Undertaker, which would have been great, 10, 11 years ago, I have no desire to see that shit now. It would be awful now. Because, Undertaker's knees are... I keep waiting for his knees to explode, and Sting just doesn't physically have it anymore. It would be awful. And, yeah, so there's that. But then at the North Carolina tapings, they had Sting win the TNA World title from Jeff Hardy. Where in the context of whatever storyline they were trying to do, where the hell did that come from? Seriously, I mean, does that make any sense at all whatsoever? To have Sting win the world title again after he's been off TV since October, it really does make no sense at all whatsoever. And again, it shows that TNA has no plan. They don't book shit long term. By all appearances, they book from week to week. I mean, that's how the show comes off to me. And they really don't have a grand scheme or a plan or anything. It's like it's just a random series of moments. They book for moments, and they try to shock people for the sake of raising ratings. That's why they hot-shotted RVD and Hardy. That's why they hot-shotted Sting winning the title with no build-up. That's why they do things. It's just a random series of events. And, why should I follow your damn show if there's no plan? Why should I follow your damn show if you're going to abandon the plan? I talked about it with Bound for Glory last year. They completely abandoned their storyline direction just for the sake of doing this immortal storyline that nobody wanted. But anyways, I'm going to talk about what my plan for Bound for Glory would be, or would have been. I think TNA's already fucked it up, but here's what my plan would have been, and it starts with Fortune turning on Immortal. This right here should be the genesis of your Bound for Glory main event. Who are the two central characters? Well, it's Fortune turning on Immortal, and who are the top guys in both factions? AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy. This moment right here, this visual, should be the groundwork for a much bigger match down the road. And if I were booking, I would have said, okay, this is our Bound for Glory main event. Let's go. Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a creative genius by any stretch of the imagination, or that my ideas are the greatest, or that even this is the best idea for a Bound for Glory main event. All I'm saying is that one moment, Fortune turning on Immortal, presented TNA the opportunity to do a long-term build-up between these two characters. Now, while I've never been a big fan of Jeff Hardy as a worker, I'm not saying he's never had a good match. I actually thought his match with CM Punk at SummerSlam '09 was the match of the year. I know people disagree with that because of Taker and Michaels, but I really liked it, so whatever. But I think what we have here is a pretty interesting character clash. We have a guy like Jeff Hardy who has displayed himself as manipulative, selfish, willing to screw people over and throw them to the wolves just to stay on the top of the mountain, while also presenting himself as a really weird and creepy kind of character that I actually find interesting. And he's going up against a guy like AJ Styles, who, as we all know, is traditional, hardworking, and very talented in the ring. However, AJ also has a clear-cut motivation. He wants to make sure that the TNA originals, namely the members of Fortune, no longer take a backseat to guys like Jeff Hardy and Hulk Hogan, and he wants to rid their influence from TNA. Now, while this is somewhat similar to Hardy, who wanted guys like RVD out of the picture so that he could have the spotlight, it's also different in the sense that AJ isn't thinking just about himself. He's a leader. AJ has a cause and something to fight for, which makes him a lot easier to get behind as opposed to somebody like Hardy, who is a selfish bastard. Now, I think mapping out AJ's path to Bound for Glory could be pretty easy. First of all, I think the obvious path to take heading into Lockdown is to have AJ lead Fortune into Lockdown, the lethal Lockdown match, and have them topple Immortal. This could be the end of the Immortal storyline, and AJ could get credit for vanquishing the Bischoff and Hogan regime. Now, the fallout of Lockdown could include several feuds with guys that were in Immortal or were somehow tied to the Hogan-Bischoff regime, and they're out for revenge against AJ Styles. One such feud could be with Hernandez. I think those two could have a very good series of matches together, mainly due to Hernandez's size and AJ's ability to work well with guys much larger than him. A feud with Matt Hardy could easily take place, especially if AJ is gunning for Jeff Hardy's title. They could put Matt Hardy in AJ's way as a roadblock. And one feud that I think would be very interesting would be a feud with Desmond Wolfe. I picture, instead of having AJ wrestle Ric Flair, which I have absolutely no desire to see because Flair looks awful, have Ric Flair go out and try to find a new chosen one to take AJ's place. Flair could go for a guy that maybe has a look as marketable as AJ Styles, but has a much different ring style, the antithesis of AJ Styles, and who better than Desmond Wolfe? Now, I don't know Desmond's status with TNA. He's been gone a long time, and there have been numerous reports about what is ailing him and keeping him off TV. But if they wanted to plan his return, that would be a great way to do it. Use him as Ric Flair's new chosen one to try and take down the phenomenal one. In his path to Bound for Glory, AJ builds up his credibility with big wins at Lockdown, Slammiversary, and whatever, major pay-per-views, in these high-intensity feuds that eventually lead him into Bound for Glory in the big match against Jeff Hardy. Now, Hardy's path to Bound for Glory should have been even easier to map out, and like I said, TNA already fucked it up with the Sting title win, but let's pretend that didn't happen. Alright, he'd already gotten by Matt Morgan, a much larger, physically superior opponent. He'd gotten by Mr. Anderson. They hot-shotted the match with Rob Van Dam. I would have saved that for Lockdown, but yeah, have him get by Rob Van Dam. And then eventually, they could have done something with Kurt Angle. I think there's plenty of stuff to build off there with Kurt, especially since all of the previous matches between the two ended in no contests. They could have easily played off that, build to a big match at a pay-per-view, say Slammiversary, or Hardy somehow, by hook or crook, gets by the Olympic gold medalist. With AJ building up his credibility through a series of victories, and Jeff Hardy managing to weasel away with the title in every situation, no matter how impossible, you have the setup for your Bound for Glory main event. AJ is credible, Hardy has enough heat, and there you go. Now here are some pointers to actually help make this match mean something come Bound for Glory time. Number one, keep them away from each other. No one-on-one matches, no hot-shotting on free TV, and even if at all possible, keep them away from each other in tag matches. And if you're going to do tag matches with the two, do it on pay-per-view. Make people actually pay to see these two wrestle each other. That way it'll make the Bound for Glory match that much more special. Along the way, build up AJ's credibility, have him overcome all the obstacles, and most importantly, keep the belt on Hardy all the way through Bound for Glory. Okay, no more hot potato with the belt. It only ruins the build-up for this one match. Now, I realize that a long-term plan for Jeff Hardy relies on him keeping his nose clean and not going to jail, which, you know, whatever. But this is all just hypothetical discussion here. And, yeah, so that's my plan. AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy for the TNA World Heavyweight title. And once you start mapping out that one big match, like I said with Part 1, once you set up one match, everything else just kind of falls into place. So based off the character paths for both AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy and setting up that big match, here's what I think the main card for Bound for Glory would look like.
Now, this isn't necessarily the full Bound for Glory card. There's certainly room for maybe 2 or 3 more matches, but these are the matches that resulted through a spiderweb effect from creating Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles. Underneath them, at the semi-main event level, would be Kurt Angle versus Rob Van Dam. After losing to Hardy in championship matches and AJ earning the number 1 contender spot, they're kind of on the outside looking in. To get back into the title picture, these two paths could cross. There you go, there's your big match, Kurt Angle versus Rob Van Dam. What should have been the main event of Bound for Glory last year, but, I won't go into that. Matt Hardy and Kazarian are the 2 lead allies of the champion and the challenger. I could see a situation where Matt Hardy could win the TV title, become the secondary champion, and Kazarian, who's already the X Division champion, could dominate that division and be kind of the king of the X Division. Come Bound for Glory time, their 2 paths could cross, creating a title-for-title match to create the dominant secondary champion of the company. Now, this one's an interesting idea for me. Everybody compares Generation Me to the Hardy Boys, so why not actually do something with it? Why not create a situation where Gen Me looks up to the Hardy Boys and they become proteges? With Generation Me under the Hardy Boys' wing, they could grow and develop into a dominant force of the tag team division. Who better to put them up against than the remaining members of Fortune, the current tag team champions, Beer Money Inc.? This finishes up kind of a Hardys versus Fortune type motif we got going here, and I think it would be a really good tag team championship match. Now, the Monsters Ball here, Mr. Anderson, Matt Morgan, Abyss, and Hernandez are top contenders to the title, semi-top contenders, and in an attempt to create a new number 1 contender, you can have this match where one of these 4 men will triumph and ultimately face either AJ or Hardy at the next pay-per-view. And in AJ's path to the title, I created a Desmond Wolfe character that is a submission specialist, an antithesis to AJ Styles, and a protege to Ric Flair. Now, come Bound for Glory time, you could create a character that would tout top submission skills and is looking for competition and someone who can match his skills. Oh wait, who better than that? The Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe. There you go. There's a match right there. Now, this is what I was talking about with the last video. When you put all your time and energy into planning one match and 2 character paths, everything else could spiderweb from it and create a whole lot of other matches that are really good. And you could map out one card just by mapping out one match. Easy peasy, right? Now, the point of this video was not to say that I'm a creative genius or that every storyline needs to be as well thought out or as well planned as Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels, because quite honestly, I don't know how much of that was planned or if it was just one glorious accident that occurred. I don't know. I mean, like I said, Austin's injury, his neck injury was completely legit, and you can't plan that, obviously, but they made it work within the storyline. But what I am saying is that when we look back at these past storylines and go, man, that worked, I'm just saying, well, here's why it worked, and here's why the current ones aren't working. If the current WWE system was booking Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels, Michaels would lose the title 3 times and then get it back in time for Mania. If TNA were booking it, they'd hotshot the match in January, and and Austin would have won the title on free TV. I mean, they would just fuck the whole thing up, and it wouldn't have been as good as it should have been. And that's my point, basically, is if you have patience and the ability to plan these things, you can create some very special moments and really make for a great wrestling product. And neither product right now is doing that. You know, I've had people tell me that Vince McMahon, he plans from WrestleMania to WrestleMania. First of all, I call bullshit. And if he does plan from Mania to Mania, then his plan sucks. Because, I mean, it shows in the way they build up new stars and create new champions. There's no long-term planning or thought put into this. They just randomly do things on a whim. And TNA, it's the same damn thing. Well, I mean, they book from week to week. It's obvious. I mean, WWE, I think maybe they book from month to month. For TNA, it's week to week. You know, they hotshot things, and they're basically a slave to the ratings. And they just do these massive things and boom, boom, boom for a big rating when, you know, they're costing themselves in the long run. And, you know, nobody has a plan right now. It's they're just mad dogs chasing cars. They wouldn't know what to do with one if they actually caught one. They just do things. Yeah, so they're kind of like the Joker from The Dark Knight, only incompetent. So yeah, those are the problems with WWE and TNA right now, and neither product is what they should be, but there you go. So yeah, thank you for watching this whole massive thing. If you watch both parts, thank you. I originally planned on posting it all as one big video, but then when I saw that it was going to be around 40 minutes, I was like, yeah, let's split that sucker up into two. Because I don't feel like uploading a 40-minute video to YouTube. But yeah, more rebooking WrestleMania next week. No more big ones like this for a while, because this one kind of took a lot out of me. But yeah, enjoy your weekend, have fun, and enjoy wrestling. I don't know how you can, the current state of things, but if you like it, good for you. And I'll see you all next week.